1. So to start, my hotel has a pool. A guest, we'll call him that, checks in right when I start my shift and is clearly intoxicated. Against my better judgment, I checked him in because I can't let him drive like that. A couple hours later, everything is going smoothly, and I've forgotten the interaction with him, and his girlfriend, then a regular guest, informs me of an issue with my pool, so I have to shock treat it and close it, and hang up signs that it's closed. As soon as I sit down, seriously, another guest comes up to the front desk because his door wasn't working. So I changed his room for him and went to the top floor to change the batteries in the defective door. On my way back down in the lobby, the elevator stops on the second floor. The guy gets on the elevator with me and is wearing swim trunks and has a towel. Then I apologize to him but inform him that my pool is closed, and I can't swim in it because I had to shock treat it and it's unsafe. He becomes irrational and starts cussing and yelling at me while I'm in an elevator with him. Super uncomfortable, by the way. He follows me to my desk with customers watching in awe. A couple of guys and a regular demanding his money back, pacing back and forth in front of my desk, grabbing at his pants for whatever reason and demanding for my boss's number and our corporate number. I responded, "No, I can't give you my boss's number and my boss will be here in the morning." He then continues to rant and yell and curse at me. So I call up my boss and step into the back so I can speak freely away from him. My boss starts watching the cameras from the laptop, and we hang up so that she can call the hotel and talk to this man and try to de-escalate the situation. He gets a discount and says he's good and gets off the phone with my boss, who then calls my cell phone to talk to me and make sure everything is good. It's not. He's still there and his girlfriend just walked in a towel and bathing suit with wet hair. I tell her the pool is closed and she needs to wash off really well because the pool has chemicals in it that can hurt her. She calls me a liar, and I tell her I have signs all around the pool that it's closed. She starts cussing me out too. My boss hears everything on camera. Dude is telling his girlfriend to stop. She finally does. Keep in mind, I still have a regular guest watching this whole thing because he won't leave me alone in that situation. Another guest comes in and just wants to check in. I ask the troublesome guest to step away from the desk so I can check this guest in. He does, but then he steps up to try to sell his room to this regular guest. My boss calls back to tell him to leave my desk area and go to his room. He does, thank God. He is now DNR at our hotel. 2. Tonight's tale takes place at the small resort hotel I work at. It is, in a word, rustic. Has a big fireplace that we use all winter, is wooden, and about 124 years old. And pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Also, the tempered glass in the fireplace is cracked, but is almost impossible to replace due to its curature. Thus, only myself and maintenance are allowed to use it. It's 2 a.m. Most of my work is done and I'm about to do my day-end close when I catch some movement on the security camera in the lobby. A woman, who we'll hereby refer to as Crazy Lady, comes in and sits down by our fireplace. We usually discourage guests from hanging out in the lobby this late, as it's directly under some guest rooms and they can hear everything. Crazy Lady, however, is being quiet, so all is cool. Right until I watched her get up to open the wrought iron gate to the fireplace, and then the tempered glass also. I get to the desk, tell her rather sternly to back away from the fireplace and leave it alone. This appears to shock dear Crazy Lady. Or it could be that I'm 6'8" tall, 300 pounds, and unhappy. I repeat, move away from the fireplace and leave it alone, several times before I get an actual reaction when she complains,
"Why are you speaking to me this way?"
"Well, Crazy Lady, it's because I would rather not have my hotel burned down." Duh. I walk around her, close the glass, and tell her once again to leave it alone. I return to my back office desk, still watching the monitor, because we all know this crazy isn't over, don't we? She sits in her chair, staring at the front desk, motionless like a statue for at least 5 minutes. She then starts video recording on her phone, gets up, walks to my station, and is narrating some horseshit. I ask if there is something she needs. She starts complaining. More so as a precaution, I ask my security officer to come to the lobby, as I think I'll need witnesses along with our camera videos. Security dude gets there, sees the confrontation, tells crazy lady he's doing his job, either leave him alone or I will remove you from the property. Gotta love DJ. I work with him 4 or 5 nights a week. Anyway, crazy lady complains her stomach is hurting and all she wanted was some Pepto. 'Cause sure doesn't everyone keep Pepto in the fireplace? At this point, I give a couple of Pepto tablets to DJ. He gives them to her with the warning, "Go back to your room. If I see you out before you check out, I will remove you." She actually complied. I had told my GSM to text me when he got in, and was in the process of filling him in when Crazy Lady and her party were checking out. She tried to show him the video, and he just told her goodbye and assured me she's DNR. I love night shift because it's either boring as hell or it gets weird. 3. Been working at a Western hotel chain, locally owned, since August this year. It's my first time ever working the front desk, but I caught on quickly, and it's become my favorite job I've ever had. We have the largest Latter-day Saint population I've found out upon moving from out of state. I encounter the occasional rude guest who is usually just upset they booked through a third party and were unaware of our incidental fees, etc. Most guests are understanding, polite, and I even have great relationships with regulars. Incoming an older lady called Mary, approximately 75 years old and single, who began staying with us in August when I began. She was in for medical treatment at the nearby hospital. She started off so sweet and kind. We gave her our courtesy 15% off medical rate, brought her breakfast in bed, and did not charge her any incidental fees or cleaning fees upon leaving. She repeatedly could not walk as she had operations on her legs, and would bleed buckets on our sheets. She would always extend via telephone, which hotel policy now no longer permits. We would authorize her card and go on about the day. We even began giving her a special rate between $89 to $99 a night. She was old and confused. Well, who knew special treatment would lead to such entitlement? On December 12th, she was due to check out, and a coworker extended her over the phone without a credit card reauthorization or signing a new registration card. The extension was done ass backwards, which led to the ensuing issues later. That night, 2 coworkers went to her room, as she asked for towels and trash to be taken out. They figured they would bring the new registration card to her door since she can't walk far. She began yelling adamantly,
I'm LDS. I don't need to sign it. I've already signed one.
My coworkers explained that in our most recent meeting, our managers made it clear how important having guests sign updated registration cards and credit card authorizations are. She kept refusing, so they left. She then called the front desk, where one of them picked up, and she began ranting as to how rude the people were she just spoke with. No signed card plus no reauthorization equals no room. The next day I hear about this, so I decide I will call her. Maybe I can get her to sign. She knows me well, and we've had good conversations. She's told me how sweet and hard-working I am, so I dial her room, no answer. Oh well, then she calls back.
Did I miss a call?
Yes, ma'am, it's Kay at the front desk. I noticed you haven't signed your new registration card since extending. I could bring it up to your room to sign so you don't have to come all the way down here.
I already told you, people. I'm not signing anything.
Oh, well, unfortunately, it's hotel policy for guests to sign new reg cards upon extension.
I told you, people, I already signed one, and I'm not signing it again. I am LDS. I don't smoke, drink, or party. You shouldn't be worrying about me and instead worry about the people who do smoke.
Well, ma'am, those who don't follow hotel policy are fined accordingly. I will need you to sign the card, though.
I am LDS. Don't you understand? I don't smoke or...
Well, if you don't smoke, then you should have no issue signing then, correct?
Is T in today?
She asks.
I'm gonna have to talk with her.
Of course, she will be in contact shortly. I hang up immediately. T is our assistant manager. I call them personally to explain the situation, and she says she will go up to her room personally to have a talk. I did my job, it's out of my hands now. Until 30 minutes later, the guest marches to my desk and says,
I'm checking out. I've been hounded for 2 days by you people. What's your name?
I'm K.
You? I have never had someone speak to me so rudely and treat me with such disrespect. I already told you I signed the card.
Yes, ma'am, you signed it for your initial stay, but you must sign a new and updated one upon extension.
You never had me do this before.
Well, I'm sorry whoever you dealt with was not doing their job properly, but this is the hotel's policy.
Don't tell me about policy, young lady. I know my rights. I am LDS. I don't drink or smoke, so I shouldn't have to sign. I have given you so much business, and for you to accuse me like this is ridiculous. I've given you so much money.
And we have lost a lot of money too with all of your special treatment and unwarranted discounts.
Just check me out.
I look and see 3 different cards on file, none with authorization. So, I don't have authorization on any cards here, so...
Oh, you're a liar. You're lying to me. You're full of tricks, aren't you?
Well, ma'am, I don't know which card to charge because there is no authorization. There are 3 cards listed here. We can authorize whatever card you have now and I'll charge it. Then you can leave. She sticks a card in the machine. Ma'am, I do need to see your ID and match the name to the card before we authorize.
Why are you lying to me?
This is standard hotel policy.
You don't need to see anything. Just run the card.
I decide to call in T in front of her and say, "Hi there. The guest is wanting to check out early, but I have no authorization on any card, so I don't know which to charge." She also refuses to show me her ID to match the card. Can I please get some help? Then comes our sales manager, Jay, whom she likes.
Thank God you're here. This lady right here, points her card at me, has a real problem. There's something wrong on her head. I don't even know how she has a job here. She's been lying to me and telling me I need to sign something I've already signed. I'm LDS, honey. I don't drink or smoke. I don't need to sign anything. I hate to leave, but I'm sure there are other hotels who would love to give me a discount.
Yes, ma'am. Well, the registration doesn't mention smoking. It also says...
Honey, don't tell me. I already know. Just check me out.
She complies with Jay's request and continues shaking her finger at me, calling me a liar and saying I'm a trickster. I began helping a different guest who had come to check in and see her walking out the door. As she leaves, I yell, "Hey, you have a blessed rest of your day." And she glared at me with so much malice. I then ran to the bathroom and cried. I couldn't believe I just had an encounter like that. I try so hard to be kind, but some people are just not with it. My managers then hugged me and told me I did nothing wrong, and we added her to our do not rent list. Thank God we won't have to deal with this delusional old lady again. Maybe there is a reason she's all alone in a hotel room instead of having children, family, or friends to take care of her after medical treatment. Maybe you're not that great of a person if you have to proclaim how good you are because you're LDS. 4. I hope we can all agree that third-party booking sites are the devil incarnate. Recently, with the holiday season, families have been booking my hotel's park and fly package with my airport hotel. It's a convenient package that my chain of hotels offers for other hotels that are near the airport for customers to leave their vehicle in the hotel's lot for an extended period of time, and then to take the shuttle to the airport the next morning. It's usually a pretty comparable rate to the local airport rates to leave your car at the airport and then fly to your destination and back based on that time of year. The rate will vary daily. It's a nightmare with said hotel chains reward customers and third-party booking sites. When you book said package, our hotel chain asks to call the hotel and book your park and fly reservation. Many of the said stay packages recently have been booking through the hotel. But then you have the entitled or clueless Karen who think they can leave their car for dirt cheap or free because they use the reward system for a free point stay or through a third-party site. Story 1. A man, Mr. Billy Bob, books his point stay on the hotel chain reward app. The day of the reservation arrives, and me and the AGM are running the front desk that evening. His wife, Mrs. Billy Bob, tries to check into the room. Of course, the reservation is in Mr. Billy Bob's name, so I make her call him to confirm she, by name, can check into the room, and she does so willingly. Then, after the call, she asks for a shuttle for the morning, which then prompts me to ask her, is she going to be leaving the vehicle with us, and she says yes. I glance back at her and her husband's reservation, and I see that it is a redeemed point stay. I inform her that I cannot honor that, as our park and fly package in our property management system takes inventory of how many of those are happening at any given moment. That's why you can't even book it through the hotel chain's app, or through the reservations call center through the hotel chain. I tell Mrs. Billy Bob that her husband needs to call me, and I can talk it out with him, since the reservation is in his name. She says okay, and heads up to her room, and I assume calls Mr. Billy Bob, and tells him that he can't do what he's trying to do. Mr. Billy Bob reaches out to me through the hotel chain's app feature to talk to the front desk directly. I inform him that he needs to call me on a certain number for us to be able to tell him what is the problem with his reservation. He calls me about 15 minutes later, and I pick up the phone. He introduces himself as Mr. Billy Bob, and he is confused about how he can't do what he's doing. But he's done this at other hotels in this chain nearby. I explain to him why he can't do that kind of reservation that way, and he gets understandably annoyed. I apologize, but that's our hotel's policy, and I cannot make exceptions. He tells me I want to speak to your supervisor or your manager, so I hand him off to my AGM, and they go at it, and my AGM does not budge, and Mr. Billy Bob hangs up, and calls again a few more times, trying to avoid the inevitable fees, which he can't. He comes in 2 hours later, defeated, and gives in to paying the price to park and stay here. Leaves a nasty review about the hotel through the survey. Story 2. Mrs. Jane Doe books 3 hotel rooms through what she thought was our hotel. Unfortunately, Mrs. Jane Doe made the mistake of searching up the hotel chain and getting a random 1-800 number, which ends up being a third-party booking line, and they lie to her and say that they are us, and they book her rooms at about $70, which is nowhere near the price of what a park and fly is. Her mom, Mrs. Sweet Older Lady, who is going to stay in one of the rooms, checks in first, and of course, like the last story, the reservation is in Jane Doe's name. So I ask Mrs. Sweet Older Lady to call her daughter to confirm she is trying to check into her room, and she does, and I confirm the name. Well, also like the last story, Mrs. Sweet Older Lady tells me that they are leaving 2 cars in our lot, and I got, no, you can't do that with booking through a third party. I immediately start panicking because of being cussed out numerous times. So obviously she is confused on what to do, and I lay out her only viable option so it's easier for her. Said option I gave her was that your daughter Jane Doe can cancel the third-party reservation, and then you, Mrs. Sweet Older Lady, can rebook with me through the hotel. I then suggest for her to call Jane Doe to explain what's happening, and tell her I can talk to her and explain this all to her. So she calls her, and I explain the options to her, and hear Jane Doe out. She informs me that she tried to book through my hotel, but she didn't mean to book through a third party, and this shouldn't be on her or her fault. She's obviously angry and pissed, and I apologize to her because I would be too. I hand her back to her mother, and she goes and calls the third-party booking site and asks to cancel the room. I tell Jane Doe, put up a stink and make them want to refund you. The third party calls me 15 minutes later and asks me to cancel and refund the advance deposit. I tell them gladly I will do so. I rebook Mrs. Sweet Older Lady 2 King Park and Fly stays and 1 double queen room at a regular rate, and we are fine and everyone is happy. Thank you, and also try to help your customers. They don't always understand. 5. It's been a year. Okay, a little over a year, since I was demoted from office manager, and the latest substitute just crashed and burned spectacularly. The first replacement was actively trying to get me fired. Between trying to convince my coworkers how useless I was and talking shit about upper management, she didn't have time to do her job, and it took us 6 months to clean up the loose ends she left behind. Pro tip: don't talk shit about upper management 15 feet from the VP's office, especially when the VP and the COO are the owner's kids. The second showed promise. He actively asked questions and tried to learn the why of our procedures before making changes. Rumor has it he was fired because he leaned too heavily on me and the other employees felt ignored. If I'm not familiar with the topic, I always defer to the expert, but after 27 years there and a little over 4 years of running the place, I am the most knowledgeable person in the office. If I don't have an answer, I know who does. This one? Oof. She claimed office management experience, but I have no idea what kind of office it was. Our place is a circus, and she made it look sane. Showing up at random hours, leaving early to work out her notice at her other job, texting family members in the middle of a busy office. She got into a screaming match on a call with her husband on her first week, and upper management did nothing. What did her in was the Christmas party. She was not the most organized person, so planning an event for 50-plus people stressed her out, even though she delegated 80% of the work. The day of the party, I heard a cork pop at 4 p.m. I don't know much, but I know an event planner should not pre-game 2 hours before the event. At 6 p.m. we arrived at the event, and she had already kicked off her heels and was speaking in cursive. Around 9 p.m., I saw she was sobbing, pouring her heart out to my wife. After she vented to her, she ranted to the COO's wife, the woman who got her the job, how she hated it there and she didn't want the shitty job. The party was the Thursday before Christmas. We had off Friday through Monday, and a few of us had off Tuesday. Wednesday she didn't show up until after 4 p.m. When we left at 6 p.m., she had already gone, but the next morning I heard the COO call her back into the office to fire her, and have her gather any personal belongings. I reckon sometime next week I'll be copied on emails sent to her address, and I'll have a new whatchamacallit in Teams and Google Chat. The silver lining is I refuse to relinquish any of my projects to her, so I don't have extra messes to clean up. I cross-trained her on a few tasks so they wouldn't be neglected when I went on vacation, and so she could document them to cross-train others. You probably guessed it, the tasks were neglected and I had to completely rewrite the instructions when I returned. It's been a year. Let's see what 2024 brings. And if you're wondering about the demotion I mentioned at the start, my wife works in the same office, and it was a combo of her not treating me like a manager, and me not treating her like every other employee. The woman knows how to push my buttons, and some days she enjoys doing so. After over 4 years, it suddenly became a conflict of interest for her to report to me, and demotion was our solution. No PIP, no assigning her to another lead. Too bad, so sad. Realistically, there's no way for an outsider to do half as good a job as me or any other manager we've had. And management, the owners and their kids, is more than happy to save on payroll. They waited 4 months after demoting me to even put up an ad for substitute number 1. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, episode 135. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, hit the like button. If you want to get the videos early, support me on my Patreon, linked in the description. If you haven't looked at it before, you'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store. And if you enjoyed the video and you want to leave a tip, hit the heart with the $sign in the middle. You don't have to do that, and please don't think you ever have to. But thank you if you have, and I appreciate it. Right, I actually think I have a birthday shout-out today, and today's shout-out goes to Gabriel. Yes, Gabriel is 24 today, and this one comes from your mom, Lisa. Well, I hope you had a great day today, Gabriel. Your mother says you're a gamer. I recently started playing Void Train with my partner. I've been enjoying it so far. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to do that when I'm done working tonight as well. Just got into it, sort of like, haven't even built the thing into a train yet, so we'll see what happens with that. Well, whatever you're doing, I hope you make sure you have a good time today, bud. Make sure you get yourself some treats, order some takeout, and remember this day is the one day of the year that can definitely be about you. And before I go, I'd like to sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Gabriel. Happy birthday to you. Alrighty. And with that, let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is there a word or phrase, that sort of thing, that although you know what it means, whenever you see or hear it, your brain automatically thinks of something else? I get this whenever I'm reading hotel stories, and oftentimes, we had it quite a few times in today's video, you'll see the phrase DNR used, which means do not rent. But there's always a part of my brain that goes, oof, DNR, do not resuscitate. That's a little harsh, isn't it? And although I know it doesn't mean that in that context, that little bit of a thought always gets sparked in my mind. Why don't you let me know what some of yours are in a comment below? Speaking of comments, I'm going to start picking out a comment to highlight in the video, so if you want yours possibly highlighted, you have to leave a comment. And this one comes from Dust Warden. And Dust Warden, in response to the question of the day for the last hotel video, says, "Yes, just the other day I recalled you floating that idea and wondered where you stood. Very much looking forward to it. Speaking of collabs, I listened to a documentary podcast that is scripted, but the two hosts frequently go off script to converse and other opinions. Might be a good format to try out. It's certainly worth considering. I'm floating other ideas around. I won't talk about them. I think I prefer not to mention specifically what I'm doing until I'm doing it. Like mentioning the documentaries, I'm safe mentioning that. I've already begun writing the one that will be out in February. And because I know that's coming out. And I'm not going to talk about things until I do them, but I do have some ideas. One might be kind of like that, but I could also do it on my own. So we'll see what happens. Thank you very much, Dust Warden, for your comment. I appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.